Have you noticed that things are more expensive in America? Well, you've got a couple different ideas now on the table that really make sense if you're voting to know about. You should know that there's these two ideas of how we can bring down the cost of stuff here in America. And I don't endorse either candidate. I've got no one in this race. But let's just talk very, very shortly about what they both want to do. Okay, Trump wants to raise more tariffs. Now, tariffs, what that means is you can you raise the price of all the goods, but if you raise the price of all the goods being imported, then what should happen over time is that companies start to build stuff here. Will it happen? I'm not so sure. But in the short run, tariffs and trade wars generally lead to, I don't know, depression. You can ask, Thomas Jefferson tried it. You can try it. The one against China is still in place. There's, I think, I forget, 10% tariff on China right now. Um, Things are more expensive because of it. Because we end up having to pay for it. It's a tax, essentially. So when the tariffs are charged, that is then directly reflected in the price to the consumer. That's the big one. Then he wants um, to force the Fed to lower the interest rate so that more money floods the market. Because if money is cheaper to buy in the form of loans, then there should be more money readily available. But that's exactly the definition of inflation. There's more money available, so everything ends up becoming more expensive. Your dollar value goes down and the prices inflate. It should be pretty simple. I don't know why he keeps talking about that one, though. I think it's weird because having an independent national bank like the Fed is very important because of our credibility in fulfilling our financial obligations, so that the president can't actually do anything about what the Fed does. The president can appoint certain people at the Fed, but he can't actually exert any influence on them. They're independent. It's a pretty good idea that works. It's worked so far. Okay, so I think it's pretty good. We've seen that when presidents can in other countries can directly affect their national banks, we have these huge spikes in inflation. We've seen it all over the world. Lots of Latin American countries. If you're from a Latin American country and you've seen a huge spike in the price of things, well, there you go. That's why, because they tend to overcorrect because of political, because they're trying to win politics. They're trying to win, Then, so that's Trump's big idea. Again, I got nothing. I endorse nobody. I endorse nobody, and none of my opinions reflect those of anybody. Then you've got Kamala Harris, okay? She and Biden want to do something a little more, I think a little more. Well, let's see. Let's see what you think about it. They want to use the power of government to build more houses, because one of the main things that we spend too much money on America is rent. So we'll firstly try to flood the market with a higher supply of housing, period, and that should bring the price down of housing overall. Meanwhile, first time home buyers, she wants to give a check of $25,000 to put down for a down payment, because a lot of people, the only difference between someone who is living in a house that they own versus someone who is living in a house that they rent is the ability to come up with that cold hard cash for the down payment. For example, I will never be able to own a house, probably. Well, now I can because my mom died, but a lot of people won't be able to own a house because their parents haven't died yet and they can't come up with the cold hard cash to put a down payment on a house. Pretty cool, right? So if you give first time home buyers 25K, gives them a little bit of go, get in there, and you supply a huge number of houses, you should be able to bring it down, makes it cheaper. Meanwhile, she also wants to pass a federal ban on price gouging. Price gouging, for example, works in the state level. Every state has price gouging bans. So if you're living in, I don't know, Colorado Springs and there's a snowstorm, it's literally against the law for the Home Depot here, the hardware store, to quadruple the price of snow shovels. It's against the law. That's called price gouging. You can't do it. There's a ban on it in Colorado, and most states have bans on it. So to put a federal ban on it would be a very interesting thing, and it might work, but I don't know. I don't think it'll work because I don't think that price gouging is actually the problem. So yeah, that's about it. That's about it. The price thing. That's what they want to do. What do you think? Do you think it will? Do you think it'll work? I think it might work. I don't know. Anyway, we've got these two ideas of to how to push forward. Isn't it fun? Election year. You get to decide for yourself. Thanks. Cory Booker is a vegan senator, not running for president, but he's a Democrat. Yeah, he spoke at the DNC. Yeah, FX, FX, yeah. Things have gotten so expensive, especially food. Yeah, especially food has gotten expensive. Oh, wait, there's the other thing. I forgot. This is my favorite part. I was getting back to this. So, the other thing Kamala Harris wants to do is use antitrust and anti competition laws to fight the companies that are, for example, remember when I told you I was driving through Colorado and Nebraska and I was driving through these giant swaths of land owned by these massive companies, Cargill and all these beef masters and all these massive organizations that own all of our food and animal flesh. You need to break them up because they are anti competition. The competition should lower prices. So if we go in and we say, hey, just like they did to tech, Google has been broken up a couple times, Microsoft has been broken up a couple times, like they don't own Xbox anymore and stuff. Like they get broken up every once in a while because they get too big. And so you got to break them up. Right now, Albertsons and Kroger, two of our massive supermarket retail outlets. So that's the other thing. The retail, they're conglomerates too, and they're too big. They're too big. They got to break them up. Kroger is coast to coast. Break them up. Why is there coast to coast Kroger and they're all owned by the same group? It's crazy. So if you could break up the companies that supply the food, and I say food loosely because they're also saying these animal flesh producers, right? And we all know that animals aren't food. But if you could break them up and then break up the retailers, you should have way more competition, which should theoretically lower prices. What do you think? What do you think? I think I think the second one sounds more feasible and less dangerous. But look, you're the one who has to vote for these jerks, not me. What do you think? Propinquity effect is the tendency for people tend to form friendships and romantic relationships with whom they encounter often. That's true. People generally fall in love and marry people that they're like 5 miles away from, right? Sky has, yeah, it's a meat is murder shirt by the Smiths. Yeah, I wear it on my days off. I wonder what Cory Booker would do if he was in power in the White House. Well, his big thing is the farm bill, and a lot of the farm bill has animal stuff in it. And he's very into like the Cargo Act, talking about live transport and the imports of animals for testing. Those are all Cory Booker things, and he's doing a lot as a senator. He's pretty awesome. He's pretty great. He's pretty cool. You should check him out. Check out what he's doing. He's doing all sorts of cool stuff. I bought my house just before the housing market crashed for zero down and stated income. Wow. No stated income. No, you can't do that these days. I was lucky to be able to hold on to it all these years, and now it's worth more. Jonesy, my hat goes off to you. Congratulations. After Kroger just started carrying lots of vegan odds, I don't know. I was at Safeway yesterday, and there were some vegan items there. Um, you know, but break them up. They'll have to compete. They'll all have more vegan items because they'll have to set themselves apart somehow. I mean, we're talking about the massive ones like Kroger. Break up Costco. Costco doesn't deserve to be so big. Break them up. Break them up. Have Costco East and Costco West, just like they did with Georgia Pacific. Georgia Pacific, they've got a bunch of different. They were like they controlled all the forests in America. They broke them up. AT&T controlled all of the phones. Ma Bell, they called it. They AT&T controlled every single telephone in America. They broke it up because it wasn't fair. They were charging too much money and they couldn't get serviced. It was hindering progress. And we also heard the word vegan in the same sentence as Kamala Harris. We all know she's not vegan, but I wonder if she'd do anything to change anything in the animal ag business if she ever wins. Well, she's already talking about breaking up animal ag so that they have to compete with one another, which will drive prices down, supposedly. Hopefully. They think so. We'll see. Um, yeah, I mean, she's talking about overhauling the animal ag industry. Now, that might be a death knell, or it could be a boon. Who knows? You never know. Kroger has always had a lot of vegan stuff. At least King Supers. What's a King Supers? Is that I saw that when I put grocery in because I'm in Colorado Springs. I put grocery in. I saw King Supers. Never heard of it. It looks sounds like it sounds like a Mario character. King Supers sounds like someone that Mario might hop on or something like that. So no, Kamala's not vegan. And you know what? You know that that's why I don't endorse anybody. I don't endorse anyone. I'm asking you what you think about these different proposals. Yeah, yeah. Biden's program for immigrant spouses of U.S. citizens is halted. Yeah, there's a whole other problem with U.S. citizens about what we're going to do with spouses of U.S. citizens. Oh, that's the other thing. Donald Trump wants to go door to door and kick out millions of immigrants, send them back home, wherever that may be, even though, of course, they are home. He wants to take all the immigrants, round them up, and put them on a slow boat to wherever they came from, as he says, wherever they came from. And that should lower the demand for housing, you see, and that should lower the pricing. That's his housing idea, is that he wants to go round up all of the immigrants, kick them out of the country, and that will leave a bunch of empty houses. And empty houses means lower cost for Americans. Sound like anything interesting? Does that sound like somebody you know? Does that sound like America Uber alles type of action? Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? That's why that was the craziest one that Donald Trump wants to kick out all the immigrants so that we can have their houses. It reminds me of in World War II, they decided that it would be okay to round up all the Japanese and put them in internment camps, they called them. They put them in camps like Manzanar, and all their stuff was left behind, of course, and they just auctioned it all off so that white people could have it. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. This sounds a lot like what they did to the Japanese. Let's They all bought houses here. Let's round them up and kick them out, and then we'll just take their houses. That's some evil shit, man. We did that once. We did that during World War II to the Japanese. So, oh, Sky, you and your Nazis. Yep, it was a total Nazi thing. While the Nazis were doing it to the Jews, we were doing it to the Japanese. It was nasty business. Nobody likes to talk about what we did to the Japanese, do they? But that's what we did. If you looked Japanese, you got put into a camp. The American government took your shit, sold it, and those people had nothing. George Takei, when Donald Trump forgot the flag salute, he didn't know the flag salute. George Takei said he'll never forget the flag salute because every morning he had to do it in the concentration camp that he grew up in, because he was a little boy in World War II and he lived in one of those camps. George Takei from Star Trek, you probably have heard of him. He's Sulu. Anyway,